Welcome, everyone. You are listening to the forum for the candidates of Jefferson County Board of Commissioners, District 3. We are streaming live on KPTZ 91.9. And please silence your cell phones before we start. I am a co-chair of the League of Women Voters. This forum embodies exactly how we come together to govern ourselves and preserve democracy. We honor the candidates willing to run for office. Their participation in government strengthens our public institutions, reinvigorates our sense of national purpose, and counteracts this age of extreme cynicism. You are demonstrating to young people that public service is a noble calling and respects the democratic process. This forum is a two-way dialogue that represents how things have been done in what has been the world's leading democracy over the past 250 years. We will measure you by the policies and proposals you lay forth. A bit about the League. We never endorse candidates. We focus on issues and work towards a multiracial representative democracy. Our principles and values demand that individual rights now protected by the Constitution should not be weakened or abridged. We will not stand for the relentless assault on our democracy. After intense study and consensus, we form positions like addressing the need for a national science-based climate recovery plan, delivering a healthcare system that provides all U.S. residents with a basic level of quality healthcare at an affordable cost, and also affirms the right of privacy of the individual to make reproductive choices. We work for the active and informed participation of citizens in government and to increase understanding of major political public policy issues. We support sex and gender equality, gun policies conducive to public health, marriage rights, equal education availability, and immigration reforms. Our national legal team works tirelessly to oppose all forms of voter suppression. We are currently involved in 59 active court cases across the United States. We joined other organizations in defending the ability of states to determine mail-in ballot rules depending on the needs of their voters. The Supreme Court affirmed this important right last week. In honor of our nation's 250th anniversary, the League will present a special live event on Constitution Day, September 17th. Fixed Democracy First and American Promise will present their work addressing excessive corporate money in politics and how to stop it. Also, we'll have pre-election forums in October. This evening, our moderator is Shelley Rees-Randall, a longtime Port Townsend resident. She started moderating local candidate forums in Jefferson County more than 20 years ago through her association with the Leader newspaper and has gained a reputation for even-handedness. Through the pandemic, she led many of our Zoom forums and says she is very glad to be back to meeting in person. These days, she is busy coaching and consulting on divorce finances, so we're lucky to have her here at our podium tonight.
Thank you, Jackie, and it's so good to see all of you here, to actually see you, not just be on a Zoom screen. So again, I'm Shelley Rees-Randall, and it's my pleasure to be here tonight with the candidates who are running in the primary election for Jefferson County Commissioner representing District 3. And of course, this is a forum put on by the League of Women Voters Jefferson County, of which I'm a proud member. So tonight we have Christopher Hannon, Jean Ball, Angie Skelf, and Stephen Neiman. We seated them in the order that they will appear on your ballot. So we hope this makes it easier for you to remember them. We are just so glad that they could join us, and all of you as well, in person here at the Port Ludlow Beach Club. This is a 90-minute forum that is being simulcast by our media partner, KPTZ 91.9 FM, Port Townsend's community radio. And a video recording of the forum will be available on the League's website and YouTube channel in a few days. So, small crowd here, hopefully this reaches a much, much larger audience. I'm really happy to report that the YouTube videos for these candidate forums often get hundreds of views. So watch for this link to go up on the website. Okay, shall we get started? A little context, just to give you the lay of the land, District 3 includes the South County and West End communities of our very own Port Ludlow, Quilcene, Brennan, Discovery Bay, Gardner, Clearwater, and Queets, among others. This is the seat being vacated by Greg Brotherton, who will complete his second four-year term in December and decided not to run again. The successful candidate will join our two sitting county commissioners, who are Heather Dudley Nolette, representing District 1, which is Port Townsend, and Heidi Eisenhower, representing District 2, roughly the tri-area and surroundings. This is a three-member board. In the August 4th primary election, District 3 voters only will narrow down the field of these four candidates to two. And in the November 3rd general election, all Jefferson County voters will select the next county commissioner from the top two vote-getters. As far as I know, and I was perusing all of your candidate websites last night, none of you have served in an elected role before for Jefferson County. So it should be interesting to get to know them. They're going to have a chance to tell us a bit about their background, so please correct me if I'm wrong on that one. So I will tell you that the bulk of this forum will be an opportunity to ask questions and get the response from each candidate. Over the past month, the League puts out a call for questions from the community, and we received scores of them. We thank everyone who took the time to submit questions. We then have a small committee that takes the submitted questions and checks them against the job responsibilities of the position to make sure we're asking questions that relate directly to the job of the county commissioner. And in many cases, we had multiple questions on the same topic, and so we've done our best to combine those in a way that allows us to answer as many questions as possible tonight on a wide range of topics. Please note that we are unable to take live questions from the audience tonight. However, note that you are able to stay briefly after the forum if you'd like to meet with any of the candidates in person. We do have to vacate shortly after the forum ends, promptly at 8, but if you need to flow out into the outdoor areas, they have agreed to stay for a bit after. So we thank you for that time. Note also the candidates have not received the questions in advance, so they are answering off the cuff. That's true, correct? Give me a nod. Okay. No seating questions here. Now, before we begin, we made sure all the candidates could see our timers who are sitting in the front row, and right now we are going to put this tool to use. They're going to get a little reminder a couple of, before the end of their allotted time. To test this out, each candidate is going to give a 2-minute opening statement. And after that, we'll move to the question portion of the evening, and we'll conclude with each candidate giving a 2-minute closing statement. If you go over, I may gently remind you that your time is up. We will go in ballot order, and we will rotating through who starts or answers first. And honestly, I need to pull out my index cards here, because keeping track of this is the most important part of my job. And each one of you has an index card with your name on it. Doo-doo-doo. All right, that's how I'm going to keep track here. So, are we ready? Candidate Hannon, you will go first with your opening statement, followed by candidate Ball, and so on and so forth. You may proceed.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and thank you, everyone, for being here. Even closer. My name is Christopher Hannon, and I'm running for Jefferson County Commissioner because I believe the people who live and work in Jefferson County deserve the opportunity to stay and build their lives here. I know firsthand how difficult this has become. When I moved here nearly 15 years ago, my wife and I struggled for years to find stable housing before luck and hard work finally paid off and we were able to purchase our first home. Before that, I grew up in a single-parent household where programs like WIC and energy assistance helped keep the food on the table and the lights on. Those experiences shaped who I am and inspired a career that's been focused on helping others find the same stability that changed my life. Over those same years, I've worked in housing and community services across Jefferson County. Today, I serve as the Housing Resource Manager at OLICAP, and I manage budgets, grants, and partnerships that expand housing opportunities and make responsible use of public resources. I've advocated in Olympia and Washington, D.C. to bring investment back to our community because I believe local government should be proactive, collaborative, and focused on results. The challenges before us are very real. Housing costs continue to rise, county budgets are extremely tight, infrastructure needs are growing, but I believe that these are not separate problems. They're all connected. When working people can't afford to live here, our schools, businesses, healthcare providers, and emergency services all feel the impact. I'm running because I bring practical experience, a collaborative approach, and a commitment to making Jefferson County a place where families, seniors, working people, and young people can continue to call home. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Hannon. And we will now hear from Candidate Ball.
I have served in elected office as a precinct committee officer for at least 10 years.
Thank you for that clarification.
Minor clarification. I am Jean Ball, and I am running to be your next Jefferson County Commissioner. I'm going to dispense with the prepared statement and instead just tell you about what I've been doing for the past 24 years that I've lived in Jefferson County. For the past 20 years, I have been a small business owner. I am a plumber. I specialize in irrigation. I have also served 9 years on the Citizens Advisory Committee to the Sheriff, where I helped secure funding for a dedicated South County deputy, which has had a noticeable decrease in crime and recidivism for South County. I am the Vice President of the North Hood Canal Chamber of Commerce, where we focus on business services and economic development. I'm also a board member for the Economic Development Council. I have another foot in public service, and that is in conservation, habitat conservation and restoration, and funding for things like fire departments and schools and libraries and cemeteries, that sort of thing. I have worked extensively on school issues, on school, was that me squeaking? Sorry. School funding and helping to pass levies and helping to raise money, in particular to help send the Jimicum School Band to, that was quick, to Washington, D.C., and they just got home yesterday, and you probably already know about all of that. I also work on wildfire response efforts and feeding firefighters who are responding to wildfires. Work on floodplain issues. 10 seconds is not enough, and I maybe should just stop. Thank you.
Aww.
Thank you all for the volunteers, and Shelley.
There'll be plenty of time to get to know each of you a bit better as we go through the questions. Okay, so we will now hear from Candidate Scalf.
Thank you so much. Greetings, everyone. I'm Angie Scalf. I coordinate the 4-H program for Washington State University Extension of Jefferson County, and I'm the third generation of my family to serve our community. I grew up in Discovery Bay and attended local public schools from kindergarten through 12th grade. And in the past 40 years, I've lived in all 3 districts of Jefferson County, and Port Ludlow is now my home. I'm running for county commissioner because it's time for my generation to step up and lead. We are struggling to live and raise families here, and all too often aren't able to be in the room when decisions about our future are being made. The leadership of this county should reflect everyone, both geographically and generationally. Leading local government is difficult, and I'm proud to have endorsements from 5 of our past county commissioners from both parties, folks who I have worked with, who know exactly how challenging this job is, and agree that I have the skills to get the job done. I've built a strong network because I've delivered results as the lead operator of Mountain View Commons, balancing the needs of different stakeholders, leading the Esquimalt-Dungeness Valley Chamber of Commerce through the pandemic, and most recently stabilizing our 4-H program after years of turnover and major gaps in institutional memory. When the work is needed, I always step up, and I mobilize my community to get the job done. Our county has some rocky roads ahead. A long-range financial plan is critical, and our tax base needs to expand. Folks deserve accountability, transparency, and trust in our spending. We need to build back reserves and make sure we don't get left behind. I look forward to hearing what local issues matter the most to you all and to share my ideas and solutions for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will hear from candidate Neiman.
Good evening. My name is Stephen T. Neiman. I am a construction consultant, been an administrator in construction firms across a period of 30 years. Why am I running? Well, I watched the 2008 Critical Area Ordinance and its strict interpretation of the Growth Management Act, and I saw the ensuing result where our economies are shut down, our dairies and our farms are struggling to meet compliance. Bothered me. Unfortunately, in 2026, we've doubled down on that. We've hit a point of inflection here in Jefferson County. We need to have a new vision if we're going to build the future. Doesn't mean we have to undo the good things that we've done in the past, but we're going to have to get creative and create a new direction for this county. And what that means is that those of us who live in retirement communities and have a good lifestyle, and those who live up in areas where they're comfortable, we have a mandate. We need to build the future for the next generation. We need to build hope and inspiration for those kids graduating from high school. That's our job. We don't get to pass that off on someone else. That is our job. And what I propose to do, I've got a workforce housing platform, a pilot program that I put together. And I've done a good bit of work on finding out what grants are available for what I call mobility hubs. I do intend to minimize government intervention into these programs and to seek private investment through commercial centers and expanding our light commercial. All of this said, it is my offer to you that I am willing to work for you and put my energies to work for my community.
All right, and time's up, and thank you for keeping your remarks right on time. That helps us have about an hour for questions. So I'm thrilled to jump into the most meaty section of our forum tonight. Candidates, this is your chance to present your views on a variety of topics, and we are eager to hear them. Just a note on the format, many of our questions will allow a 90-second response, but some will be only 30 seconds, so those are intended to be more short form. And there are a few yes or no questions that we'll throw in there, for which we'll allow 10 seconds. Clearly, you have a bit more time then to say yes or no, so if it has to be a yes and, feel free, or a no and. But please do answer yes or no. And if you don't use your entire allotted time with any question, you are welcome to let us know that you are going back to a previous question and giving us a few more comments on that. Just let us know that you're doing so and refer to the prior question. So here we go. We're going to actually test this out with a simple yes or no question. Again, with our format, Candidate Ball, you will answer first. We'll go down the table and come back to Candidate Hannon. So hopefully this is a pretty easy one. Have you attended a Board of County Commissioners meeting in person, yes or no?
Oh, Lord, for 12 plus years, I haven't missed more than a handful.
So is the answer yes or no?
The answer is yes, my apologies.
The answer is yes on that one. Candidate Skelf?
Yes, I present to the Board of County Commissioners annually.
Candidate Neiman?
No.
And Candidate Hannon?
Yes, I regularly work with them on housing concerns in the county.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's dive in with a 90-second question then. And Candidate Skelf, you'll be the first one answering this. The first few months as a commissioner, really in any elected office, but this one particularly being a full-time job, the first few months have been described as a fire hose of new information. So, how familiar are you with the county's current issues, including the budget situation, and what's your strategy for getting up to speed quickly if elected? Candidate Skelf?
All right, thank you. The question about getting up to speed with the Board of County Commissioners. I currently work in collaboration with the county. I am an employee of Washington State University Extension, which is a department of the county government, so I'm very familiar with the budget, and I know that 2027 is going to be a quick and dirty budget. So it's going to be a lot of very challenging conversations. We don't know what the landscape will be until late in the year, and there's a possibility that most departments will have presented 3, maybe 4 different iterations of their budget. So I am prepared to dive in full feet forwards. Financial planning is my key issue, and I'm very familiar with how our budget works. I have worked in the munis system. I can read a BARS code for every single department in our county and know the history behind that. So I feel quite prepared for that. And we'll start off with zeal and probably harp more than most people want to hear about a financial plan, because that's my motto.
Candidate Neiman, go ahead.
Yeah. If I'm elected, what you've identified is that we have a problem. So the first thing I have to do, I need to sit down with the other county commissioners and get the lay of the land. All of the converging influences that are contributing to the problem, I need to be able to identify. Second, my world doesn't exist without negotiation. It's what I do. I'm a consultant. I help settle out complex insurance cases. Negotiation is part of the job description. But negotiation means that we have to have partners that want to contribute. So I need to understand who I'm working with, what their level of intransigence is, and whether they identify that the people of the 3rd District of Jefferson County have indeed spoken. If I'm there to solve a problem, and I'm there to build the future. Very simple. So I'm not going to digress from that, and it is I've thought through a series of policy proposals, which I believe are more than well thought out. They're on my website, Neiman, numerical 4, commissioner.com. I've determined what actions need to take to implement those policies, and I will push to have that done. All this to say that once we recognize that we have a problem and we need to fix it, I'm the type of person that you need to hire to get it done.
Thank you. Candidate Hannon.
Sure. In the housing world, I came there from education, and it's often said that it takes at least a year to really learn housing before you feel even remotely confident in what you're doing, because it's so complicated, buried in government particularities and a million acronyms and whatnot. At my work in OLICAP, I turned the entire youth department around in 1 year and then got promoted to the general manager of housing. So not only did I take that fire hose, but rather than get stuck on it, I put the fire out in the department that I was given. So I have full confidence that my work ethic and the amount of time that I go above and beyond sort of any item that I'm passionate about will be able to meet the challenge of learning all of the things there are to learn about the county.
Thank you. Candidate Ball.
This is about building relationships and leaning on people through networks that you've built over many years. And working with teams, because no elected office is, maybe I'm mixing a metaphor, but it's not an island. You don't do anything alone. You do everything through teamwork and relationships and collaboration and bringing people into the conversation to make the best decision possible based on the available information and whistles you may be experiencing. Sorry. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, since really budgets and budgeting is such a big part of this role, I think we'll do a 30-second question next. We're just experimenting with our whole mix here. On this county's website is the County Commissioner's Handbook, which has been prepared for all of the counties in Washington state. And I just thought I would read the kind of job statement from that as to why it's so important that we have county commissioners who, have a level of skill with these fiscal responsibilities. The quote is, "As a commissioner, you are authorized and required to make policy for the county. Policy making means defining high-level goals and long-range outcomes for county government. This includes choosing the direction, the ways, and the means to achieve these outcomes and to guide the decision-making process leading to them." And it goes on to say that the first of these powers is budgeting and appropriation of funds for all county activities. So I actually want to ask each of you, starting with candidate Neiman, just to describe in 30 seconds your style of decision making. What are some of the things that you use in making, some of the skills and procedures you use in making decisions?
I live my life in spreadsheets. I admit it. That's how I make decisions. I create data. And what's exactly how I made the decision to run for county commissioner. I juxtaposed the budgets all the way back to 2021, looked at the income, looked at where we're going out. Doesn't look good. And it is my lifetime calling, it appears, to administrate correction in companies, help things get sorted out, and set a new course.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Hannon?
A budget is a moral document, so you need to lead with that spirit in mind whenever you're making decisions around that. So it's always collaborative, you're reaching out to your partners, and it needs to be informed by data on what has been effective in the past so that you can move forward with changes to the budget that actually bring about the results that you're seeking. So I need to work with everyone that's already been there and find out what they've tried and sort of move from there.
Thank you. And before candidate Ball answers, it's the top of the hour, and so I just want to pause to say you are listening to KPTZ 91.9 FM, Port Townsend's community radio. This is a League of Women Voters candidate forum for the Jefferson County Board of County Commissioners, Seat District 3. Go ahead. Your decision-making process, that's what we want to hear about in 30 seconds.
Collaborative, you nailed it, Chris. It's based on bringing a team together, and we have a finance committee. None of these decisions are made in isolation. All budget decisions are made through a collaborative process, and it is said that your budget reflects your values, and to be connected with the public and to know what people value enables you to make the correct decisions based on the values of the public and to represent their will.
Thank you. Candidate Scalf?
Thank you. Question about process with budget. I always start problem solving by listening to the people that are at the table, looking at who is not at the table. And one of those skills that is not listed in the County Commissioner Handbook is navigating the relationships within your district. And I think that is very important. So that will be where I start. I have a strong network, and I will deepen that even further.
Thank you. We're going to keep following up on this theme by asking, tell us about your experience managing budgets or a budget in either the public or the private sphere. Candidate Hannon, you go first.
In my role at OLICAP, I often work with grants that come from the state and federal government, as we are the lead agency for the county on housing. And anyone that knows, housing grants are basically the largest ones they give out outside of like military contracts. So I have extensive experience making sure those funds are spent on the services that they need to go to, as well as navigating federal cuts, so dealing with an ever-shrinking budget and needing to make that still work.
Thank you. Candidate Ball?
Was that not 30 seconds?
Yeah, the 30-second question.
30-second question. Being a business owner, I have a lot of experience managing budgets and supply chains, but I also serve on nonprofits, and we manage a lot of land and grants and purchasing power. So lots of money flowing through hands.
Candidate Skelf?
I have managed many different budgets. I currently manage a state budget that is on an academic calendar that merges with the county budget, which is on an annual calendar. So I have experience reporting multiple things in multiple ways and making sure it all lines up and passes audits. Yes.
Thank you. Candidate Neiman?
I run multiple budgets on a continuum all the time. As a construction administrator, I can have as many as 20 jobs going at once. Each of them has their budgets. All of them has layers of expenditures, subcontractors, all the above. For that reason, I've developed a project management platform which provides real-time project tracking. This is what I found. You can't make decisions when the decision needed to be made 30 days ago. So one of the things I do is I look for real-time data that's happening on an ongoing basis so I can make decisions that are real, not retroactive.
All right, thank you. And, oh, we made it all down the list. Okay, perfect. I promise we will get to the meaty 90-second questions, but I'm keeping it easy to begin with. I want to ask, starting with Candidate Ball, if you can just give your experience working with or serving on nonprofit or community boards and committees, because I think there's a lot of experience here at the table. So let's hear about that.
I wish I created a list. Northwest Watershed Institute, that's a nonprofit. We rehabilitate land. We work on salmon habitat. Also on the chamber, the North Hood Canal Chamber of Commerce. Did I make a list? I don't think I made a list, sorry. That might do it.
Well, it doesn't have to be exhaustive, so
All right.
just give the audience a sample.
Oh, well, I've got another one, a state Stewards of Public Lands nonprofit.
Okay. Candidate Skelf, let's see if you can keep your list to 30 seconds.
I will do my best. I started my very first board role at the age of 21. I was the treasurer for First Baptist Church in Port Townsend. You can say that started a long pathway on borough boards. I have been on tourism and economic development boards, and I currently serve as the vice chair of the Jefferson County Fairgrounds Association.
Thank you. Candidate Neiman.
Don't have a lot of nonprofit experience, if any. I'd have to think it through. I was one of the initial, in 2016, of the Jefferson County Emergency Management of the block captain, and I think I was one of the first to start that process where we now have a full retinue of block captains in Port Ludlow. Additionally, I am trained in ACT 45 and ACT 20, earthquake, flood inspections for the King County, and I'm a FEMA structural inspector. All of those I am available when we have a natural disaster.
All right. Oh, thank you for your service on that. And let's have Candidate Hannon wrap up this question.
Yeah, I worked for 15 years in nonprofits, and right now, currently, I'm the vice chair of Jefferson County's Coordinated Entry Advisory Board, and I'm also the co-lead and one of the original members of a statewide coalition of homelessness service providers called Communities for Functional Zero across Washington State, where we try to make youth homelessness one-time, rare, and brief.
Quite the mission. Well, thank you all for your service, which I know is often volunteer. Let's dive in then with a 90-second question, which we got a lot of questions from the public about, and it's about budget trade-offs. So many of you have alluded to the fact that the budgets are tight and cuts are being proposed and new funding sources are being analyzed. So the question, as we have crafted it, which candidate Scalf will start by answering, what ideas do you have to maintain county services in times of fiscal challenge? What trade-offs do you think are important to consider in balancing the county budget? And as one person put it, how will you try to get us out of the fiscal pickle? Go ahead, candidate Scalf, you have 90 seconds.
I love a fiscal pickle. That's a really great way of describing our situation. It is very serious. The first way that I would address our budget deficit is by going through our budget and
Sorry, we're having technical difficulties on the microphones. Try again.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah. we're good.
Okay. Finding efficiencies within our budget. There are a lot of different fleet contracts that we could look at, technology, licenses and permits that we have duplication across departments, and looking for that low-hanging fruit of where we can save first, and then looking at ways that we can fight for our fair state partners.
Yeah, sorry, the mics are going out again. So do we have a fix in the back?
State partners.
I think if there's a gap, just pause and try again in a second.
Yes.
Okay.
And federal grants that are available to us that we don't have a robust grant program for. I am surprised that our county government only has one full-time grant writer for the full county, and that's something that we should improve upon.
Okay. Did you get enough time? Oh, you could go a bit longer if you need. We stopped it. Oh, you did do a pause. Okay. Did you feel like you have anything? We still have 30. Would you have anything more to say on the topic? Apologies for the tech glitches.
Let me get that. Yes, speaking of pickles, we need to make sure we've got enough brine to cover the top of the barrel, and it's really, really important that we work together with all the different programs in our county to align our work to be more effective in what we do.
All right. Thank you very much. Candidate Neiman.
I don't believe in cutting back essential services. I don't believe in cutting wages. I'm going to have a look at the budget. Obviously, if there's areas that we need to be talking about cutting, that's what needs to be done. But if you really think you're going to solve the economic situation we're in by cutting the budget, I would respectfully submit to you the answer is no. We're going to have to commit ourselves over the next 10 years to putting an economic engine in this county. And we're going to have to compromise some of the things that we really feel strongly about, and we have to figure out how we're going to do that, because the reality is, if we're not generating revenue, we're not going to balance our budget. And we need to go forward with this concept that we're building, and we're going to build smart. I've got a series of proposals that I put on the table, elucidated in great length on my website, how to implement those policies and what the road mapping is on the parties that need to be involved in that decision making. Additionally, we do need to create jobs in the immediate future, and I think that after my discussion with the fire department, and I think that we can look at forest thinning in the immediate future and how to draw good wage thinning jobs. We have a lot of opportunity to expand the grant in that location. Thank you.
Okay, Candidate Hannon.
Thank you. I have a lot of that experience in getting those grants to Jefferson County already, both from the state and federal level, so I would want to help the single poor grant writer that we have in that regard. As well as one of the other things we need to work on is Jefferson County has a relatively low unemployment rate, but what we do not have is enough affordable housing for the workforce, and that's where my background really will shine, where I can focus on policies that's going to be able to increase the amount of workers that actually live in our county so that their sales tax and their revenues can actually contribute to the place that they're already working in full time, because many of our workers, we have one of the highest rates of transient workers across county. they're spending all their sales tax in Kitsap and Clallam, and it's really not helping our budget at all. So.
Candidate Ball.
There's no fat in the budget. We've cut to the bone. We had a budget deficit of $5.2 million last year. We solved it by cutting services, cutting staff, not filling vacant open positions in county government, and deficit spending, and we can't sustain that. We need to broaden the tax base. We need economic development. Everywhere I go, people talk about a lack of services, a lack of jobs that sustain families, working wage jobs, living wage jobs. We need to broaden the tax base. We need to work on infill to provide housing. Half of our EJFR staff cross that bridge every day to come to work. 70% of the mill employees don't live in Jefferson County. That's staggering. I heard the gasps. We need economic development that is culturally consistent with this area. I'm not talking about box stores. I'm talking about skilled trades. I'm talking about running out of time very quickly. We need to support marine trades and service providers, and we need to broaden the tax base.
Yeah, well, this next question is another 90-second response time. Starting with candidate Neiman, you get a chance to expand more on this. What do you see as the biggest challenges facing Jefferson County? And how would you begin to address them if elected?
Culture. We have a wonderful culture. We're nice people. We're good stewards of the environment. But what we don't do is build for the next generation. We have a responsibility to those kids. And we're going to have to compromise. And we're going to have to sacrifice. We've initiated a bunch of policies that have shut down economic development. We've shut down the dairies. We've shut down the farms. Clap, clap, clap. We did it. Now we got to undo it. We got to figure out a way to go forward and get things right, because the next generation deserves better from us. From me. That's why I decided to do this. I haven't been meeting my responsibilities. So I'm going to convey to you that it's important for us to recognize that it's time to give back to our community in a way that's sacrificial, and we need to be able to cooperate with each other. I will do my best with whoever is in charge. I want very badly for those kids graduating from high school to have hope.
Thank you. Candidate Hannon.
I end up sounding like a broken record sometimes, but I'll say as many times as people need to hear, the main issue in Jefferson County is housing. And I always say, no matter what your issue is, if it isn't housing, the state of housing in Jefferson County is making your issue significantly worse or more difficult to deal with. And luckily, this big sewer project in the Port Hadlock area has been finished. So we're at really an inflection point where there's opportunity to set the tone and success of our future in Jefferson County with some intelligent planning and infrastructure designs and whatnot, and infill, as was mentioned before. So we need to go around policies that will actually improve development in that area, as well as we need to partner more with local landlords, because in a rural area where we don't have very large corporations who are building a lot out here, we really need to lean on what is here to support the little bit of building that we do. As was mentioned, that's kind of hard to come by out here since it's so expensive to bring raw goods.
Candidate Ball.
Public safety, infrastructure. Saying housing doesn't really mean anything if you can't provide a sewer or water or electricity. We don't have a resilient infrastructure in this county. We don't have an unlimited access to power or to water or to sewer. Yes, we need houses. Yes, we need roads, but you need the infrastructure to make it work. We need services, we need to support education, we need living wage jobs, and we need to support what makes this place have a high quality of life that drew us all here. That's the farms, forests, waterways. That's what makes this place special that we all value.
Thank you. Candidate Skelf?
I think that our biggest challenge goes deeper than housing and infrastructure. It goes right to the core of who we are as people. We are a retirement community by large. Many people spend an entire career building their resources and wealth to move to the most beautiful place in the entire world. But they leave behind their network. They leave behind their trusted relationships, sometimes their families. And we need to do a better job of connecting. I want to see our community engage everyone to have a sense of belonging and that we're in this together. We're only going to succeed if we all work together. And I think that that issue is at the core of most things. When you talk to folks about dementia and how to prevent folks who are aging having even worse outcomes, it's having a community. It's having a place to gather, connection, friendships, family, and I would like to see that deepen even more in our county. I'm very grateful to get to live here with my parents, who have now become grandparents, and see them change from being my parents to being grandparents, and the joy that it brings their life and extension of that to the next generation. So I really think that belonging is the most important issue here.
Thank you all for those thoughtful responses. It's gotten my wheels turning. So we're going to get to follow up with another 90-second response for the question of what ideas do you have for your vision? So starting with candidate Hannon, tell us about your vision to address these challenges. What are 2 or 3 initiatives, either new or ongoing, that you would champion if elected, and why do they matter?
Sure. I think one that is a relatively easy win to build goodwill among the local landlords, like I mentioned earlier. A lot of other counties have essentially what is the equivalent of landlord insurance, where you incentivize landlords to rent to locals who work in the area. You can waive application fees and things like that, not needing to make 3 times the income of the rent, et cetera, because that's an undue burden on most of our workers here. And in exchange, the county has a pot of money that if a renter defaults or damages a unit, you can withdraw a certain amount every year. And the reason I say this is a low-hanging fruit, because one, it builds confidence in your local landlords who will actually rent to the people here. But 2, this fund doesn't actually require all that much money. If you've ever rented or been a landlord, it's actually fairly rare for these units to get damaged, but that fear, if you ever mess up, you're going to lose the home that you have. So building the confidence is key, and that money that sits in that pot often rolls over to the next year. So it ends up being dollar for dollar a very effective program in every county that it operates in. And then secondly, I'd love to do more professional initiatives where we're supporting different trades, particularly ones that will be resilient through AI changes, so electricians, plumbers, the maritime trades, things like that.
Thank you. Candidate Ball?
I share that with you. Skilled trades, I think, is incredibly important. It's a recession-proof industry. There's a variety of fields that people could study, that students could learn to support their families. Fully staffing the permitting agency, the Department of Community Development. So right now they're at 40% staff. No wonder there's a bottleneck in land use permits being processed. People should be able to get the permits they need for the reasonable land use that they would like to engage in on their property. Incentivizing businesses. Small businesses run the economy, and we should be incentivizing them to be here, to stay here, to build their businesses here and support these people who live here and want to stay here.
Thank you. Candidate Skelf?
Financial planning, financial planning, financial planning. My vision is a county that is led by a robust plan for finances. This means that all of our county departments can plan and show trajectories, can help people understand what they pay for and what they get. Something that we do in the nonprofit and academic world is we produce impact reports every year. So you can look back 2024, 2023, 2022, how much was spent on that department? What were the outcomes? How many different programs were there? What were the challenges? What were the threats? So we can plan for the future. It's really frustrating when you're a county employee and you're doing really hard work and then that work gets the rug pulled out from underneath it. I don't think that's a responsible way to plan. I don't think that's a responsible way for us to work, and I would like to have more sustainable practices as we do that. So my vision is a Jefferson County that has a 4-phase, 6-year financial plan, full stop.
All right, candidate Neiman.
There's no easy solution. I hate to break the hard news to you. When we talk about jobs, my interest is middle-class jobs. We're talking $60,000 to $80,000 a year minimum. Those are difficult to find, and they're also difficult to create. The easiest way for me to suggest that we do this, we expand our forest thinning program. It's going to be difficult to do. We have a hybrid program that I've recently been made aware of where private landowners can engage in this activity in tandem with grants from the DNR. These are good-paying jobs, and they also produce revenue. That doesn't solve our long-term problem. I've produced a compendium of ideas, all of which are designed to build infrastructure for the coming decades, none of which are tomorrow's answer. I think the easiest thing that I can say is that we have to commit ourselves to a process, and that process is going to change as we go forward. There are going to be a lot of voices that enter into it. I would like to be put in a position where I could lead us in that direction. It will invite not just small businesses, but we are going to engage in having commercial infrastructure build out the necessary components for our mobility hubs and our 40-unit workforce housing complexes that I've put together. And we'll isolate areas that are needful for those. And thank you very much. I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, so you've raised a lot of really interesting points, but several of you have spoken to a question we got from a member of the public. It's a simple yes or no. So starting with candidate Ball, you have 10 seconds to answer the question. Do you believe the county should prioritize hiring more staff for permitting services? Go ahead.
Could I give you 2 words? Hell yes.
Yeah, 2 words are allowed.
Okay.
Anything else?
And we don't have the money.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, we don't have the money, she said. All right, candidate Scalf.
Yes, we're still recovering from when we cut staff in 2008.
Candidate Neiman.
No. AI platforms, privatized.
Okay, and candidate Hannon.
I'd want to speak to the department heads to see what their workload is like in terms of what's causing all the delays and see if you can make it more efficient first, but I'm open to that as a solution, yeah.
Wow, did you do that in 10 seconds? Okay, so there you go. You actually get to tell us a bit more than yes or no. I'm liking these questions. We're gonna bounce over to a 30-second question though, and candidate Scalf will go first. I've been itching to ask this question since I used ChatGPT to organize my agenda for today. So I had 2 ways to phrase this. What AI tools, if any, do you currently use in your work or daily life? And if elected, where do you see them being useful as a commissioner? Candidate Scalf.
This is a good question for me because I'm currently working on a national 4-H curriculum around AI literacy. So I have used a number of different platforms, including Copilot, Claude, ChatGPT, some other questionable ones to check and see if they get good answers, including the McDonald's app.
Okay. Do you want to say anything else about how you might see using them as a commissioner?
I think that AI tools are best when they're used for minutia, which is formatting, data, collation. WSU has a policy that all AI use needs to be monitored by a human being, and I deeply, deeply feel that that is so important, and I'm quite capable at monitoring AI. You have to keep an eye on it.
Okay. Candidate Neiman.
I use AI on a continuum. I've done it from the beginning. I don't use AI for its own purposes. I use AI to build my own AI systems with its own governance documents. So I find the documents necessary to make my decisions, at least in the construction world, the AMA standards, the IRC, the ICC, all the above. I put those governance documents in the AI. My decision makings are referenced within those documents. I know where I'm standing. And so, yes, we have AI now that we can, especially COD, it's very, very useful in developing our own governance AI platforms so that we can make decisions that are easily referenced. We have a chain of documents.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Hannon.
I do use all the AI tools already mentioned. In my current work, what I find them particularly useful are publicly available documents or grants, because I manage so many of them. They're huge books, basically, and it's impossible for one person to remember every single little line in there, so you can use AI to find what in particular you're looking for in the grant very quickly, and then, of course, ask it for the lines you can reference to make sure it's not giving you made-up things. And similarly, you would be able to use that in county jobs.
Perfect. And Candidate Ball.
Yes, I use various AI tools, all the ones mentioned and some others perhaps. And for the sake of not repeating things that have been said, one of the things that I use, one of the ways in which I use AI is while I'm driving, I will ask it to read to me poetry. Or I can use it as a sounding board. I could feed it an idea and ask it for its feedback on what it thinks of my thought process and poke holes in it, please, so that I don't sound silly.
Okay. Well, there's always something new in that field to learn, and so thank you all for sharing your thoughts there. I'm a kind of free-flowing moderator, and so that question has led me to ask the next one, which is a 30-second question as well. Candidate Neiman will go first. I promise we'll get back to policy, but for now we're still getting to know you. What's a book you've recently read that's made an impact on you, and why?
Saving the Appearances by Barstow. Cultural movements within the British Isles produced a different cultural epistemic matrix. How we interpret the world around us has changed. And he noted that. This was written back in the 50s. And I felt like that was very helpful for me to understand how we communicate with parallel epistemologies, and we're using the same words.
Okay, Candidate Hannon, a book.
I'm going to cheat and do two books. I read *Sapiens* and *Homo Deus*. They were extremely well-written books. *Sapiens* is essentially the history of all humanity, and *Homo Deus* is the future of technology and how it will interact with humanity, and highly recommend their excellent views on human nature and how we got here.
Thank you. Candidate Ball?
If you haven't read Secrets of the Soil and you're looking to have your mind blown, pick it up.
And Candidate Scalf?
I will also expand and mention a series, perhaps more than a series. I was inspired by finding out that a local author who wrote all of the Dune books, and so I, after 4 years, finished the bulk of his writings, and I'm now moving on to his son's writings.
I just started reading the first Dune because I heard about the Port Townsend connection. That's really cool. All right, well, this is a reminder that we are at 7:30, and so you're listening to KPTZ 91.9 FM, Port Townsend's community radio. This is a League of Women Voters Candidates Forum for the Jefferson County Board of Commissioners, District 3. I'm your moderator, Shelley Reese-Randall, and with me we have candidate Christopher Hannon, candidate Jean Ball, candidate Angie Scalf, and candidate Stephen Neiman. So we have just about another half hour to go, folks. Let's see where else we want to take this. If I have this right, candidate Hannon is going to go first. Let's get back to some of the big picture stuff. You know, we must ask this. It's going to be on the August 4th ballot for all county voters. It's about Prop 1. So Prop 1 just gets its name because it's the first proposition on the ballot, and this is a 30-second response question with a little background first. Jefferson County Parks and Rec faces a funding shortfall. It's been identified as beginning in 2027, and so Proposition 1, which is a 6-year levy lid lift, has been placed on the August 4th ballot by the current Board of Commissioners. Now, County Parks and Rec includes 23 parks, 6 community centers, youth sports, other programs, youth programs. So what is your position on Prop 1, and how would you approach long-term funding for these programs if differently?
I do support Prop 1. It's more of a preventative measure than anything. One, we love all these beautiful spaces, but if you've spoken to any law enforcement, they'll tell you if there aren't activities for young people to engage in that are meaningful and engaging, then they're going to be dealing with the police. And typically every dollar spent on community activities for young people saves you $3 spent on law enforcement afterwards. So if we're concerned about the budget, this is something that we should support.
Thank you. Candidate Ball?
Seconds? I support the elements of Prop 1. I don't like the process that brought it to us. I don't like the lack of a community conversation which was able to engage in alternatives to funding. We didn't consider anything else. We just took the easy way out and went straight to the voters instead of thinking about economic development, which is more long-term sustainable, or liquidating assets, dead assets that the county doesn't need anymore.
Candidate Skelf?
I support Prop 1, but I want to be fully transparent. 2 organizations that I lead are also on the ballot as recipients of that funding, so I don't want there to be a perception of a conflict of interest.
Thank you. And Candidate Neiman?
I understand that's 4-H, yes?
And the fairgrounds.
And the fairgrounds. Yeah, I don't appreciate being in the position that we're in with Prop 1 and leveraging 4-H and things that we hold dear in order to get this money. It treats us like children. Clearly, we're in this situation because there was a hierarchy of values which allocated money elsewhere, left this one blank because we know that these are near and dear programs that we need to fund. Have I made up my mind? Not necessarily. I understand that we need to make sure that our parks are fully working and that we don't fall into disrepair because bringing them back will be more expensive than the money we save.
No. Thank you. Okay, everyone did have a chance to answer that, right? All right. So let's move back to a 90-second question then. The Parks and Rec levy lid lift is countywide. However, as it always comes up in these commission elections, about District 3 versus the county-wide needs. So clearly, each district has its own character here in Jefferson County. How do you anticipate balancing the specific needs of District 3 with your responsibility to the county as a whole? And Candidate Ball, you go first.
As a commissioner for District 3, I would filter every decision through how it would impact the residents of District 3. But when you're moving forward on representing the county as a whole, you have to take into account what that means to the whole county. How much time do I have for that one?
This is actually a long 90 seconds. If I didn't say, apologies. You have plenty of time.
I apologize. I think that encapsulates it. It's you are elected by these people to represent them, and I think that is paramount and should be in your mind at all times.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Skelf?
All right, so 4 of the 6 community centers are located in District 3. 90% of 4-H participants live south of 104. And about 27% of the entrants in the county fair come from District 3. So I think there's a very deep connection between this proposal and our district. I think it's really important that we connect with the different folks that do this work and are involved and go even deeper. I really would like to see more engagement. I'm a very competitive person, y'all. And I want South County to beat Port Townsend in entries in the Jefferson County Fair. So come with me, guys. Let's do this. Enter your quilts, your honey, your jam, your miniature cow, because I know you have one hiding in the back there. I really would like to see that happen because it is supposed to reflect us all, and it's up to us to make sure that it reflects us all.
Thank you. Candidate Neiman?
I think that the question is asked with the presumption that I have a responsibility, at least that's the way I heard it, to Port Townsend, which is the cultural milieu of Jefferson County for the most part. Here in Port Ludlow, we're influential, but I think they're ultimately influential. And quite frankly, if we have a problem, and indeed we do, particularly with the budget and I'm going to fixate on the critical areas ordinance, they need to hold themselves accountable for that. And so I don't think I'm going to be answering to them. I'm going to be as polite as I can possibly be, but they have a responsibility to loosen up their fixation on this faux moral code of creating regulations and stifling economic growth outside of their center of influence. I feel like they have a responsibility to help us refacilitate our economic future here in the South County. And I think that there's a variety of ways. Obviously, I've put together a number of proposals. It's too small amount of time to go through each one of them now. But I'm going to really ask them to participate in the economic future of the South County.
Thank you. Candidate Hannon?
Yeah, two things. One, I have a lot of practice already doing rural advocacy in the housing world. In Washington State, it's constantly a battle between the gravitational pull of Seattle and the needs of the rural area. So that's sort of a macro expression of the micro difference between Port Townsend and District 3. So I have a lot of experience already doing that. The second thing I would like to do and make a concerted effort for if I were elected is to very consistently be meeting with my constituents in District 3. I've been kind of appalled and shocked at the amount of houses that I've knocked on their doors, and they've told me I've lived here for 20 years and I've never met a single politician, nor has one ever come to my door. So I think that's a real dropping of the ball, so to speak, of our local electeds, that they're not meeting consistently with their voters to understand their needs and desires. And then I also just want to push back a little bit on my last 30 seconds here on the notion of District 3 versus Port Townsend, because it is Jefferson County that we are serving. And so while I do always want to keep the needs and particulars of District 3 at the forefront of my mind, it really is a collaborative, and we can't go into it with a combative mindset.
Yeah. All right, well, we've got a question that this leads nicely into. It's about this very issue of constituency. So starting with candidate Scalf, how do you weigh input from the loudest voices at a public hearing against your responsibility to listen to and represent everyone? Oh, this is a 30-second question.
30 seconds to answer. That's a big one for 30 seconds. I really trust my network of people who I have known for years, who I know are working at the heart of issues, and I always ask for advice. I ask for their context, and then I also want to ask the loudest voices, why are you so loud? Is this really something you're super passionate about? And I want to really hear that. So I think it's important to listen to both the loud and the soft.
Thank you. Candidate Neiman?
Well, on a construction site and team meetings in particular, we get a lot of that. My trick is I give them a job to do and hold them accountable, but then I have the authority to do that. So a lot of times the loudest voices, they're frustrated. They see something, and they want to make sure everyone knows. And sometimes they're just trying to aggrandize themselves. You can't fix that. You just have to weigh yourself through it. Do they bring anything to the table? Sometimes, but not every time.
Candidate Hannon?
Yeah. The loudest voices are useful in bringing attention to something that's probably very much bothering them. But the other thing that you need to do is make sure that you're examining the data around whatever issue it is, because as long as you have good data to back up whatever decision you end up making, hopefully it's in support of the loudest voices so they can feel like they've been heard and addressed. But if it isn't, then you at least have some reference point to explain to the person who's the loudest voice why we couldn't go with your particular route.
Thank you. And Candidate Ball?
Sometimes the loudest voices are due to a sense of frustration from not being heard. Sometimes you hear the greatest truths and the most constructive feedback in the quietest voices. And I have a little bit of extra time, and so I'd like to go back. I don't think I understood your previous question correctly, and state that there are elements of Prop 1 that I think are problematic. I don't understand why the fairgrounds doesn't pay for itself financially. Did I run out of time already?
Well, finish your thought. Finish your sentence.
Well, with all that land and all those buildings, why is it not self-sufficient? Why are we spending more than $100,000 a year out of the general fund on the fairgrounds? As a business owner, I have to wonder that.
So I do have the ability to, with a little discretion here, to say perhaps there's more to be said on Prop 1. And so I'm going to actually take this opportunity to give down the line again, starting with candidate Neiman, just 30 more seconds to talk about any issue of Prop 1 that you would like. So 30 seconds, go ahead.
I quite frankly think I've covered my opinion on it. Clearly, the hierarchy of values that produce the budget allocated money in areas that probably could have been allocated toward the very things that Prop 1 is pursuing, the budgetary line items. So I think that it's all too often people know what you're going to vote on, schools, parks, that sort of thing, and they use those items to fund other parts of the budget with bonds.
Candidate Hannon.
I'll just add that, one, it's a temporary measure for 6 years, and then two, because I got a sense up from a lot of people I've spoken to in District 3 that they're like, well, this isn't going to support us, and we don't want to help fund Port Townsend. Port Townsend's also in the process of considering, after those 6 years, taking their sort of Parks and Rec department in-house, quote unquote, so they will handle and tax their own for their business, and then District 2 and 3 can handle theirs on their own afterwards as well.
And Candidate Ball.
I would like to think that it is temporary. However, on the website, the county website, it says it's a definitive statement. In 6 years, we will pass it again. And what I would like to have seen was an opportunity to consider assets that the county may not require. We own 320-some parcels. We own over 2,000 acres of land. Was there a piece of property that we could have developed which would generate revenues through the sale of the property, could have been turned into housing? We would get real estate excise taxes and an ongoing property tax base coming in from that, which in theory could support parks, which are wonderful.
Okay. And Candidate Scalf, wrap up this policy discussion here.
I have a very visceral reaction to this because I've had my arm up a clogged grease trap at the Jefferson County Fairgrounds. I have had my fingers in pipes as they busted right before fair. There's 25 years, if not more, of deferred maintenance. So every time you start to get a little bit of a toehold, this year when I said, the fair's doing great, I can probably run for county commissioner, something will literally explode. And so I think we need to think about that through all of these things, because Parks and Recreation, same boat. 4-H, same boat. Community centers, golly.
Wow. Well, thank you all for your thoughts on these policy topics. We are going to wrap up before closing statements with one more question of a more personal nature. This will help us get to know you just a little bit better. And so, Candidate Hannon, you'll start with a 30-second response to the question, what's a hobby or activity outside of work that keeps you grounded?
I'm a huge nerd, so I enjoy writing. And I saw an arm pump back there, nice. I write creative stories, I develop worlds, I read fantasy novels, etc. And I just love immersing myself into all these fantastic stories about heroes because, in a way I love helping people as a career, so kind of see myself in that same vein.
Cool. Candidate Ball?
I work on supporting people in the community. I am a farmer. I raise livestock. I have land. I like to go camping.
Wonderful. Sounds good. Candidate Scalf?
I have many hobbies, many expensive hobbies. I'm an equestrian. Whenever I have free time, I'm in the barn with teenagers talking about how much we love horses.
Candidate Neiman?
Well, I have a lot of training in the Semitic languages, the language of the Bible, and also I have a lot of background in philosophy. So I write, and I enter into discussions with people like me, and we beat it up. And so I get a lot of enjoyment out of hearing different viewpoints and having vibrant discussions.
Excellent. Well, lots of different hobbies and interests out there. We're going to wrap up with a final yes-no question. So, Candidate Ball, if you would go first and say in 10 seconds, this is actually not a strictly yes or no question, but you get 10 seconds because we need to rotate the order one more time. We need to say, I love this question though. If you had 1 extra hour in the day, which we all dearly wish for, how would you spend it?
Probably in my garden or on a mountain.
Candidate Scalf?
I would spend more time with my nieces.
Candidate Neiman?
On my motorcycle.
And Candidate Hannon?
I selfishly would get the sleep I'm already skipping out on.
Wow. Okay, those are all fantastic answers that I would love to do as well. So, thank you so much. This has been really fun. I hope you who are listening would all agree. It is now time for our closing statements. And so Candidate Scalf will go first. We'll circle back that way. And you have 2 minutes to give us your closing thoughts.
I don't want the microphone to turn off, so I'm going to give myself a long leash here. Our neighbors and young folks across the county are equal parts hopeful but worried. They don't want a local government that's efficiently managing a decline. They want our leaders to build something that is worth inheriting. And I know what it's like to hunt for housing and survive on an income that's not keeping up with inflation. I know the pressure of caring for kids while supporting aging parents. And our county budget is also being squeezed with demands that grow. I will pursue a multi-year financial plan, rebuild reserves, and show residents where their dollars go. Every grant, contract, and hire will be made with a long view in mind. We have to improve access to housing and childcare to have an ecosystem that will support economic development. Hunkering down and waiting for this storm to roll over us is not a responsible solution. The next chapter of our county depends on our leaders adapting and rapidly evolving with problems. I've spent my career bringing people together and will work to make local government a partner, not an obstacle. My first fair as superintendent felt like drinking from a fire hose, although this year it's more like a tidal wave. Keeping 100 kids safe on over 20 acres is not for the faint of heart, but we had a plan, incredible volunteers, and we worked hard to get the job done. At the end of that fair weekend, we were exhausted, and a kiddo came up to me and pulled on my sleeve and said, "Angie, this belongs to us." And that's what I want for every person in this county. This belongs to us. I'm humbled and grateful for everyone who's opened the door for me to talk, and I would be honored to earn your vote in 8 days when ballots arrive in your mailbox. Thank you so much.
All right, folks, that was candidate Angie Scalf. And now we will hear the closing statement from candidate Stephen Neiman.
Well, thank you very much to the League of Women Voters and my fellow candidates, but most importantly, the citizens of Jefferson County for giving us the opportunity to present these different viewpoints, different visions, And I want to make mention that throughout the discussion, we've been talking about housing, schools, healthcare, transportation. Actually, we didn't touch on healthcare. We needed to, quite frankly. Public safety, economic development, and infrastructure. I would just like to respectfully say that when teachers, nurses, deputies, tradespeople interact with this county, they need to have the most basic constructs in their life, and namely that's housing and affordable jobs. We don't have it. We're barely keeping up with that, and the future doesn't look like we're going to get it done. So we need to change course. I've been as respectful as I can about presenting that to you, but that is the inevitable consequence of the culture that we've produced in this county in the past. So I'm presenting a compendium of ideas which will provide an economic engine for the years to come, and I believe they are culturally sensitive to the identity that we have here. But I believe it is absolutely something that has to be done. So the campaign is not about politics for me. It's about practical problem solving. It's about bringing people together around common goals, making decisions, and building the future. Thank you.
Thank you, and that was candidate Neiman. Now we will hear the closing statement from candidate Christopher Hannon.
Thank you to the organizers, my fellow candidates, and everyone who came to participate today in democracy. Throughout this campaign, I've had the privilege of speaking with people from every corner of Jefferson County. And while we don't always agree on every issue, I've found that we all share something very important. We all want a community where our children can build a future, our seniors can remain in the homes that they love, and the people who work here can afford to live here. Those goals will not be achieved through slogans or politics alone. They'll require thoughtful budgeting, strong partnerships, and leaders who are willing to listen, bring people together, and make difficult decisions with integrity. That's the experience that I bring. I've spent my career managing public resources, advocating for Jefferson County, and working alongside nonprofits, local governments, and community members to solve complex problems. I know how to build consensus, and I know that lasting solutions come from focusing on people rather than politics. If you choose me as your next county commissioner, I'll work every day to ensure Jefferson County remains a place where opportunity isn't reserved for just a few, but is available for everyone that's willing to invest in our community. I'd be grateful to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Hannon. And lastly, we will hear the closing statement from candidate Jean Ball.
Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you, Shelley, for moderating, and for the women who are timekeeping, despite my best efforts to color outside the lines. Over the years, I've had the privilege of serving this community in many different ways, and one thing has remained constant. When there is important work to do, I show up. Whether it was improving public safety, strengthening our infrastructure through leading the Transportation Benefit District, responding to emergencies, supporting our schools, like getting an audience with the governor of the state for the Chimacum School Band when everybody else had given up, protecting the environment, or helping local businesses succeed. I've never been content to stand on the sidelines. I believe in bringing people together, tackling difficult problems, and delivering results. I show up, I take on big issues, and I deliver. That's the record I bring to this race, and that's the kind of commissioner I will be. I would be honored to earn your trust, your support, and your vote. I would like to invite you to join some of my endorsers, like Senator Mike Chapman, Commissioner of Public Lands Dave Upthegrove, retired Sheriff Joe Knoll, current Sheriff Andy Pernsteiner, the Washington Education Association, the Jefferson County Manufacturers Association, Washington Conservation Action, and many others. Those are all sole endorsements. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Yes, and thank you, candidate Ball. I am just thrilled that we have such a deep slate of candidates on this primary ballot. It's really a treat. Thank you all for running. Yes, let's give them all a hand. I'd like to thank all of you who are in the listening audience as well, and especially for these very thoughtful responses and respectful responses. It's just been a joy. So these candidates have taken the bold act of running. Now it's our turn to do the voting. I'm going to wrap this up with just a couple minutes of how you can make sure that you know about the instructions and the timelines and can encourage your friends and neighbors to do the same, and then we'll be off the air by 8. If you're not yet registered to vote, you can go to votewa.gov and get yourself registered either online or by mail through Monday, July 27th. Amazingly, you can go in person to the county courthouse and register all the way up through 8 p.m. on election day and then give them your vote. So that's pretty cool. Thank you to all the hardworking folks in the auditor's office at the Jefferson County Courthouse who make that possible. If you're looking for more information on these candidates, each one has published a website devoted to their election campaign. And if you're so lucky as to be here in person tonight, we hope you will stay and chat with them. Please do move outside if we need to close out the room. Ballots and a local voter guide will both be mailed out July 15th. And then completed ballots may be mailed in or placed in one of the many drop boxes throughout the county. Election day is indeed Tuesday, August 4th. How many days away is that? 20-something days. I thought someone just said it. 28 days? No, that can't be right. It's definitely, no, actually it's about 20 days or so. So,
I think it's 28.
Nope, okay, we need the facts here, people. It's August 4th, so don't forget that date, first Tuesday in August. This is a very important ballot. As we mentioned, it has Prop 1, as well as many other contested state legislative and judicial races, as well as some local levy lid lifts for Parks and Rec, Brennan and Quilcene Fire Protection Districts, and the Quilcene Cemetery District. We know that you are here or listening or watching because you care about democracy and this place. So I encourage you to talk to everyone you know about voting and their plan to get their ballot in on time to be counted. If anyone is not sure about their voter registration status, that can actually be checked online at votewa.gov or at the auditor's office at our county courthouse. And I'm holding up a printout that's also by the door on the table as you are on the way out, where you can scan this QR code and get access to a page on the League of Women Voters website that lists all the Jefferson County election information you would ever need to know, including reviewing a sample ballot, which I always find helpful when you're talking to folks about what's going to be on the ballot. And you can put in your exact address and it will come up with the ballot that you will get, because where you live, your address puts you in different precincts. As mentioned earlier, this forum is being video recorded. Thank you, recorders. And in just a few days, a YouTube link will be posted on the website for the League of Women Voters, Jefferson County. And here's where you get to that website. You type in lwvwa.org/Jefferson. So that's leagueofwomenvoterswa.org/Jefferson, and that will get you to this recording. Or, Google it. Or ask Claude to deliver the link to you. It has been just a pleasure to be here this evening with all of you. Again, my name is Shelley Reese Randall, and it is now 8 p.m., time for our forum to end. And for those of you listening on KPTZ 91.9 FM, Port Townsend's community radio, time to return to regularly scheduled programming. Thank you and good night.